I'm back, boys, and today I'm realizing why I didn't think I'd ever develop a work ethic to make these videos. Jeez, I should just be like everyone else and make dumbass faces while reacting to someone else's video. I'd just go, bro, that's crazy, and then rack up a million views. I don't know, man, but what I do know is that I've been back in the lab testing out the next deck for the series, and I gotta admit, man, this one's a doozy. I've been playing a wee bit of Salamangreat, and if I could describe this deck in a meme, it would be... This deck is fairly interesting to me as it's been in the game for a long time. I've known about it for a long time. I've played against it a million times, and I'm here to inform you I'm just now learning what this deck does. Their inboard looks non-threatening, but my god, this deck has hands. This deck is actually a fairly cheap budget deck, but some of the combo lines, man. I would only recommend this deck to new players who think they're gonna stick with Master Duel for a while, and if you like playing those trash if you're a normal player, absolute god in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing type characters in MOBAs or hero shooters, I think this deck would be good for somebody who's familiar with modern Yu-Gi-Oh or played this deck in a different format and is just now getting into Master Duel. Out of all the budget decks I've played, I have to say this one probably has the highest skill ceiling. So if you're new to Master Duel and you're the competitive type and you want to get straight into the action and perform decently, this is the deck for you. This deck is so resilient that it still frequently tops meta weekly tournaments despite more busted cards releasing. I was literally watching this insane player named Zeus go bonkers in a meta weekly tournament while I was testing the deck out on another screen. That's how competitive this deck is compared to the other budget decks I'm testing. This is probably bar none the strongest. Before I forget, the main gameplay mechanic with this deck is that its linked monsters gain extra effects if it's link summoned with a linked monster of the same name. We'll get into what that means later, but let's quit glazing and get into how to toss a salad. Wait, I mean, how to eat out a salad. Wait, I mean... Alright, Salad Core. For real this time. Starting off with the main deck, Salad Spinny. This card does two things. First, if you already control a salad card, send this card from the hand to the graveyard to have a face-up monster gain 500 attack. That obviously doesn't seem like it does anything, but this card's importance lies in its second effect. When this card is in the graveyard and you control a solid monster, you can special summon this card from the grave. You can use spinning to start or extend your combos. Next card is Salad Gazelle. If this card is in your hand and a salad is sent to the graveyard except itself, you can special summon it from the hand. It has a second effect of when it's summoned, you can send a salad card to the grave. I play this at 3 because this is essential for extending and starting your plays. Next up is Salamangreat Weasel. I play one of these, but when you have 2 or more salad monsters in the grave, you can special summon this card from your hand. It has a second effect of if a salad extra deck monster is special summoned to the field while this is in the grave, summon the salad monster to your opponent's side of the field, draw a card, and then shuffle Weasel back into the deck. This helps extend the main combo, which we'll go into later. Also note, this card is a tuner, and we do play one synchro in this deck. Next up is Salad Fire. Basically, with this card, if you summon it, you can special summon a level 4 or lower salad monster, but this locks you into special summoning fire monsters. 98% of your deck is fire, so it's not that big of a deal, but it's still good to keep this in mind. It has a second effect of if a Cyberus monster battles, you can destroy your own monster. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea how to utilize this effect. It just seems kind of, I don't know, bad. The only thing I can think of a use for this is that there's a card that we're gonna go over later, Raging Phoenix, that special summons itself if a fire monster is destroyed, but it just seems like a waste to use it on that, you know. Next up is Code of Soul. Not a solid card in name, but the first effect, if you control a link monster, you can special summon this from hand, which is fuego for a link deck. It has a second effect that you can link summon a salad monster during your opponent's turn. you can use a Salad Link monster with the same name as the entire material. Since Link summoning salads with the same name is sort of their gimmick, this works nicely with the deck to get those effects of those larger Link 4 monsters. Now on to the lesser core monsters. I'll start off with Salad Foxy. When you normal summon this, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and if there's a salad card, add one of them to your hand and then shuffle the rest. This is a fairly decent normal summon that could get you into a Gazelle or perhaps a Spinny or maybe even a Weasel, which could help you skip some of your combo and have an extra link. It has an additional effect that if this is in your grave and there's a face-up spell or trap, you can discard a card and special summon Foxy and destroy a face-up spell or trap. This can potentially help you get rid of floodgates or pesky field spells while getting you a body in the board, so this is pretty good, not gonna lie. The last salad monster in the main deck is Salad Jaguar. It has a piercing damage effect, but you didn't expect that. I played a bunch of duels with this deck and I didn't even know it could do this. We be out here, classic Yu-Gi-Oh player and shit. It has the second effect of if you control a salad link and this card is in your grave, you can target a different salad monster, put that one back in the deck, and then special summon Jaguar to where the link monster is pointing to. This card is usually an extender as the second effect is really good, and the main reason you want to play it in your deck is because special summon monster, good for strategy. This card has a few requirements and setup to make it pop off, so just keep that in mind. So that's it for all the main salad card names, at least for the monsters. I only have 3 non-salad card names, besides Code of Soul, but that has salad in the effect, so that card is invited to the cookout. First, I'll talk about the Terratop and Taki Tomborg combo briefly. For those of you who watched the Goblin Biker video, you'll remember these cards. If you haven't watched that video, I'd still give it a watch. It's still fairly entertaining, even if you don't plan on playing the deck. I pinned in a bunch of memes, just like in this vid, so moving on. Terratop combo. It's a little less broken in this deck because we're only playing 1 level 3 Xyz in this deck. Before I get into the combo, all this card does is special summon itself if you have no monsters. Then when it is summoned, it searches for Taki Tomborg. Then the Taki Tomborg can special summon itself to get you to a rank 3 Xyz. This combo can get you started without using your normal summon, which is really good and why we still play it in this deck. The last card is Lady Debug. If you normal or special summon this, you can add a level 3 or lower Cyberse monster to your hand. This deck is entirely made out of Cyberse monsters, so it's just going to be most of your deck. What you search for is mostly going to be dependent on what you have in the hand and what you have on the board. One thing to note with this card is that if you use the rank 3 Xyz effect, which I'll get into what that card does later, you turn off Lady Debug from activating. There were times where I would do a Terratop combo, then normal summon Lady Debug, and then she wouldn't activate. That is why. Don't be me and learn from my mistakes. That's it for all the main deck monsters, so let's get into the spells and traps. First spell is Salad Circle. When you activate this, you can choose one of 2 effects. You can add a salad monster from your deck to the hand or target a salad monster that was link summoned using a link monster with the same name. It's now unaffected by monster effects for the rest of the turn. Obviously, one effect is better than the other, but I kind of feel like this card is also self-explanatory, so I'm going to move on. Next up is Salad Sanctuary. This card's first effect is if you link summon a salad monster, you can use a salad monster with the same name as the entire material. So besides Code of Soul, this is the other card that lets you do a 1 card 4 material or lower link summon, which is pretty cool. It has a second effect of if a link monster you control attacks, make its attack become 0, but you gain life points to that monster's original attack. Personally, I don't really get this effect. It asks you all the time, do you want to make your monster attack 0? No! I want 1 billion attack to send my opponent to the Shadow Realm. There are a few cards that'll have you pay life points, which I'll get into later in the video, but for the most part, I kinda wish this wasn't even printed on the card. Next up is Salad Charge, and again, you can choose one of 2 effects. Target 3 fire monsters that are banished or in your grave, and if you do, shuffle 2 of them in the deck and then special 1 on the field. But its effects are negated and it can attack, which is usually okay because you can still link summon with that card. You also have the option of, if you control a fire extra deck monster whose attack is different than the original, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. This card is great for extra disruption. The last named spell is Will the Salad. During your main phase, you can special summon a salad monster from your hand or grave, which is great for extending. It has a second effect of you can target a salad link monster that was special summoned with the same name as the material to special summon monsters from your hand or grave up to that link monster's rating, which is usually going to be 4, which is crazy. That is a lot of monsters on board. Next card is Cynet Mining. This one's pretty straightforward. Send a card from your hand to grave to add a level 4 or lower Cyberse monster from deck to hand. The main purpose of this is just to search for starters or extenders. Moving on, I only have one core trap for this deck, which is Salad Roar. If you control a Salad Link, negate a spell trap or monster effect, then destroy that card. Basically, it's just Solemn Judgment with extra steps, but with a condition for activation instead of a cost. Which I can't really complain about, but it also has a second effect that if a Link monster is summoned using a monster with the same name, you can set this card from the grave, which is pretty cool because that means you can get 2 uses out of this. So that's it for the main deck. The rest are just staples and can literally be anything else. Let's get into the extra deck. So y'all know I love going for those name staple archetype cards first. So first up we have Salad Baylinks. When summoned, add a Salad Sanctuary from your deck to hand. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. It has the second effect of if a Salad card would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish Baylinks from grave instead. This can save your cheeks in a pinch and is a pretty decent effect. The next card is Salad Sunlight Wolf. It says that if a monster is normal or special summoned to an arrow that it points to, add a fire monster from your grave to hand, but that monster can't be summoned. So usually you want to pick a monster that'll be a follow-up for your next turn. It has a second effect that basically says if you summon this card with another Sunlight Wolf, you can add a Salad Spell or Trap from your grave to hand, which is pretty clutch, not gonna lie. Next up is the only Xyz in the deck, Mirage Stalio. You can detach a material to special summon a Salad from your deck in defense. And note, this turns off the effects of non-fire monsters for the rest of the turn. So that's 2 cards we haven't talked about yet with Wicked and Little Knight. Also there's Lady Debug that I mentioned earlier. Stalio has a secondary effect that when it's sent to the grave for a Salamangreat Link, you can return the monster from the field to the hand. Now when I was going first, this didn't come up, but if you're going second, this could be useful if you manage to get this far in your combo. Next up, we're getting into the boss monsters with Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. First effect. If this card is link summoned using itself as a material, you can add a Salamangreat card from your deck to the hand, which is fuego. Second effect. If a fire monster is destroyed while Raging Phoenix is in your grave, you can special summon this from your grave and gain the attack equal to the monster that was destroyed. So this card has the potential to get really chonky. Moving on to the other boss monsters, we have Pyro Phoenix. If this card is link summoning using itself, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls, which is one of my favorite effects in this deck, hands down. It has a secondary effect where you can target an opponent's link monster in their grave and special summon it to their field, which I haven't used that often, but you can use it to trigger Sunlight Wolf or P Princess. It also has a third effect that allows you to target a link monster special summon to their side of the field, and then you can also burn for the original attack of that monster. With all the main course Salamangreats out of the way, let's get into the side dishes here. So, Promethean Princess has been an absolute banger addition to this deck. During your main phase, you can special summon a fire monster from your grave, which in this case is the majority of your deck. And if a monster is special summoned onto the field, you can target a fire monster you control and one card your opponent controls and destroy them. Then you can special summon P Princess from the grave. Not only does this card extend your plays, it also counts as a disruption. It can also grind, so this card is absolutely insane. Next card is the only synchro in the deck, Fire Fist Horse Prince. When you synchro summon this card, special summon a level 3 fire monster from your deck. In most cases it's going to be Code of Soul, and that's it. That's the card. This card just extends and helps complete your end board with Code of Soul. This card is simple, self-explanatory, but you can pretty much make this for free with Weasel and any level 3 in your deck, so keep that in mind. Next card is Cyberse Wicked. You make this if you think your opponent has Nibiru. I don't think you'll see too much in Nibiru, honestly. At the original time of me writing the script, it was a Yubel Tenpai meta, which counters Nibiru. Now it's the Malice meta, which, it's the same thing. Nevertheless, this card can help you extend with its main effect. If a monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, add a Cyberse tuner to your deck, which in this case will be Weasel. It has the additional effect of not being able to be destroyed by battle or card effect, okay. And Cyberse monsters this card points to can't be destroyed by battle or card effects as well, okay. I mainly use this card to get into Decode Talk or Heat Soul. Heat Soul gains 500 attack for each card it points to. Okay, pretty nice. The second effect is that you can draw a card each turn if you pay 1000 life points, which is a nice bonus. It has a secret effect that if your life points are 2000 or below, you can banish this to summon a Link 3 or lower monster from your extra deck. Honestly, this effect never really came up, and this card isn't really essential to the deck, it's just a nice bonus. The last extra deck monster is Fire Charm Rahita. This card is kinda situational, but it's super clutch if you get it to pop off. Its main effect is that you can target a fire monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to the zone that Hita is pointing to. Almost every deck in this game plays Ash Blossom. In most cases, this card's going to be live because of that. Hita is a Link 2, so you can use this to make P-Princess for free. You kind of have to decide if you want to make Sunlight Wolf or Hita depending on the state of the game, but it has a secondary effect that if it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add a fire monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand, which could be really good for grinding. So that's it for the extra deck. That completes the main cards that I'm playing, so all that's left are the staples. As you can tell, staple wise, my deck got a slight upgrade from last video, from just me playing a bit, you know. But for a quick rundown of what I'm playing now: 1 Veiler, 2 Joel, 3 Maxi, standard, 3 Ash Blossom, standard of course, 2 Called By. Since I'm getting into these higher ranks, I was happy to add this to my deck, 2 Imperm, and 1 Solemn Judgment. I think this could be replaced with Salamangreat Rage, which I didn't talk about in this video, or a 3rd Imperm, but I actually really like Judgment in this deck. So some good news for this video: if you're having a hard time seeing everything on the screen, I have this deck list posted on Master Duel Meta because I finished my climb to dual level max. This was during December 2024. It was fairly easy too, and it was during a Yubel Tenpai meta, but the link is in the description if you want a better look at the deck list. For the optimized build for the main deck, not much has changed. Instead of Judgment and 2 Joels, I put in Triple Tactics Talent because I think it would go hard in this deck. You get ashed, you chuckle, rip a card out of your opponent's hand, and then go full combo. I'd add Crossout Designator because the real enemy to this deck is the Roach. And lastly, an extra Imperm, which you can't go wrong with in most cases. In the extra deck, literally one changed. I would swap Decode Talker for Zealantis, as I heard there are some crazy plays you can do with this, and it also triggers P-Princess. One thing you have to keep in mind: if you use Zealantis' effect with Horse Prince, you'll end up permanently banishing your Horse Prince due to the second effect, which that effect was completely irrelevant until you add Zealantis into your deck. You can't special level 5 or higher monsters after this card is synchro summoned, and Horse Prince is level 6, so just keep that in mind. I think maybe you could even cut Zealantis for another P-Princess just in case something happens to the original, and a lot of Salamangreat enjoyers play Balinks at 3, so you should keep that in mind as well. This time these replays are in Platinum and the upper levels of the Duelist Cup, so the caliber of Duelists is higher than last video. Unfortunately, the higher you climb in this game, the more coin flippy and quick the games get, so it's hard to get clips. My opponents know when they're rightly cooked and they surrender after the slightest inconvenience, so it's actually harder to get interesting clips. Anyway, for the first clip, I don't know what my opponent's playing. I think he made his deck from the deck he was playing in middle school with the first cards he got from a booster pack.
What the hell is this?
But anyway, I wanted to show this replay because this is the absolute strongest board I can make with my deck. So in this one, I'm going first. I start off with a Terratop to bait some cards. You know, it's the standard Terratop combo. Since the entire Avengers assembled in my hand, goddamn, I summon a Salamangreat I don't have access to with Jaguar. I use Jaguar to link into Balinks and use Balinks effect to grab the field spell. Since the Salamangreat was sent to the grave, Gazelle also summons from hand. I then use Gazelle's effect to send Roar to the grave, and you'll see why later. Alright, so here's something interesting. I then go into Wicked. I could have summoned a Salamangreat to where Wicked points to, but I was still learning at this point and didn't know. I then use Wicked and Mirage Stalio to make Heat Soul. Heat Soul used an effect to randomly draw a card into an Imperm. God damn. I then normal summon Salamangreat Fire to add Weasel to my hand. Since I control a Link, I summon Cold of Soul and use its effects. I then use Spinny's effect to get it in the grave, then use it again to special summon it on the field. With monsters on the field, I'd go straight into Promethean Princess. I don't waste any time and revive Gazelle. I then special summon Weasel and synchro summon into Fire Horse Prince. Since I already ran through all my other Salamangreats, I summoned the one I didn't have access to. So here comes Raging Phoenix. I play the field spell, I summon another Raging Phoenix, and that triggers a ton of effects. I add Salamangreat Charge with the Resummon Phoenix effect. I shuffle back Weasel to summon Mirage Stalio to my opponent's side, draw into another Spinny, then I set the counter trap. Now P-Princess activates in the grave and I destroy Mirage Stalio and Horse Prince to summon Pre-Princess. This then triggers Old Raging Phoenix in the grave, summons itself for 5500 total. I then use the lower attack Raging Phoenix and P-Princess to make Pyro Phoenix, and this is the absolute strongest board I can make. So during my opponent's turn, I can use Decode Talker to draw into some disruption. I have the Salamangreat counter trap to disrupt damn near everything. I have the Salamangreat charge to pop a card on the field. In the graveyard, if my opponent special summons, I can pop a monster I have and a monster they have. Lastly, with the field spell and Code of Soul, I can link Pyro Phoenix with itself to destroy my opponent's entire board. I also have Imperm I drew into earlier, but that's just a happy little accident. So this is the normal standard board you'd want to make every time, with the addition of drawing cards with Decode Talker. My opponent plays literally nothing because he's probably a bot playing a pile of nonsensical nonsense, so I'm kind of just waiting like, your motherfucking life ends from one turn from now. With this next one, I misplay a bit, but you can see just how oppressive this deck can be. So I start off with a Terror Top once again, and I immediately eat an Imperm, which you see why I play this card. Then I normal summon Lady Debug and use Sign Up Mining to send the other Lady Debug in my hand to the grave to swap for Spinny. So now I have everything I need to go full combo. At this point, you all know this part, I go into Balinks, grab the field spell, boost Balinks to send Spinny to the grave, then I special summon Gazelle and dump the counter trap, then I special summon Spinny, use it in Terror Top to make Stalio, I use Stalio's effect to summon Fire, then Fire activates to search Weasel, I then use Gazelle and Balinks to make Sunlight Wolf, I then summon Weasel where Wolf is pointing to add Gazelle back to my hand, I then use Stalio and Wolf to go into Promethean Princess, activate P Princess to resummon Spinny, and with Spinny and Weasel on the board, I synchro summon Horse Prince activates to summon Code of Soul, I activate Code of Soul and then use P Princess and Soul to make Raging Phoenix, I then play a field spell, link into another Raging Phoenix, click yes, do all the effects, we're on the field, draw into a random Terror Top, I then add Charge to hand, P Princess activates to destroy Horse Prince and Stalio to summon, which triggers Raging Phoenix in the grave. I then take the lower Raging Phoenix and P Princess to make Pyro Phoenix, and that's the board setup. The board is kind of the same as the last replay, down to the Imperm. I just don't have Decode Talker. So this is actually where you're going to be making most games. So my opponent's playing Evil Twin Sprite, and I know the biggest weakness for this deck is not having a level 2 on board, so I pop Leela to force any extenders he might have. And then he summons Sprite Blue, and I'm like, well, that's a big fat negate and destroy, so I flip the trap. To my surprise, this guy already had a starter in hand, and the special summons a Sprite Orange. Here I tried to Decode Soul to destroy whatever sprite he was trying to get out and summon, but I forgot it's two separate chains to do that. So Decode summons Pyro on top of Pyro. Then on a separate chain, Pyro activates to wipe the board, making it a little bit too slow for what I was planning. Orange attempts to negate and I Imperm Orange and attempt to wipe his field. He's got nothing after that and immediately scoops. Alright, this last duel is against the best deck in the game when I was making the script for this video, Tempai. So bro wins the coin flip and makes me go first. I already know what time it is. So I start off with Terror Top combo as usual. You already know what's up when I get this hand. And I immediately eat an Imperm. We take those! My hand is missing Spinny and Gazelle, so I make do with what I have. I normal summon Jaguar, link into Balinks, I use Balinks effect to grab the field spell. And since I have a link on the board, I special summon Code of Soul. With 2 level 3s on the board, that's Meg the Stalio, so I special summon that on the board, and I'm hurting for the rest of my combo. So I special summon Fire, search Gazelle, I link Balinks and Fire into Sunlight Wolf, and since that's a Salamangreat in the grave, I special summon Gazelle, and I'm already full combo here. So I send the counter trap to the grave, and I link into P Princess using Wolf and Gazelle. And then I use P Princess effect to resummon Soul from the grave. I then link P Princess and Soul to make Raging Phoenix. I use the field spell to resummon Raging Phoenix, which I then click yes to everything. I then resummon Weasel since there are more than 2 Salamangreats in grave, and then I synchro summon Horse Prince using Weasel and Gazelle. I then use Horse Prince's effect to summon Spinny, since I literally haven't seen it all game, and link Spinny into another Balinks. This triggers Weasel, where I summon Stalio on the opponent's field, I draw into an Imperm, and Weasel goes from the grave to the deck. This then triggers P Princess, and we're back to the standard end board of the combo. P Princess summons, destroying Stalio and Horse Prince, then Raging Phoenix summons from the grave, gaining Horse Prince's attack. I then use the Raging Phoenix with a lower attack, and P Princess to make Pyro Phoenix. So that's the board setup. Let's see how I cook this tier 1 deck with the Forbidden Rogue style. Off rip, I'm going to max C here because I already know I'm going to need all the help I can get. He then commons me, and already that's a big fat negate. If he's bricked up on negates, this could easily stop him from getting the field spell if he doesn't have it. Turns out he had full combo in hand. Shocker. He summons Chandra and Fadra. My opponent is insane for this because he just did his normal summon and his special summon raw with no protection. And I'm about to show him why you never go in raw.
What?
I activate Code of Soul to blow up his field, and bro tries to maxi me, and I say maxi for me, but not for thee. I resummon Pyro, blow up his board, and that's GG. I didn't have too much trouble with Tenpai because if they were running destruction, I would just Balinks. Then they had trouble getting over the 5k Raging Phoenix, which was funny to watch, and I had a counter trap for the field spell or Kaimen, so this deck can actually put up a fight against Tenpai if you don't get hand trapped to death. So that wraps up the video. I was thoroughly impressed with this deck, and now I'm a solid enjoyer, I'm not gonna lie. I'll be moving on to the next deck, which is Raid Raptors, which should come out sooner than this one, hopefully. Damn, I wrote now that the holiday's over, but I guess now that my hiatus is over. Subscribe if you want to see more. Check out my Goblin Biker video if you haven't already. It should show up on the end card here in a second. If you want to see me duel live, you can now sub to this channel where I figured out duel streaming, or you can head over to twitch.tv/CerealHero for a better experience over there. Maybe I might make a kick. I don't know. Thanks for watching to the end. I really appreciate you, and I'll catch you on the next one.